Hi, I'm Dan Costa, editor-in-chief of PCMag.com, and welcome to Fast Forward. We have ongoing conversations about living in the future. This is a special CES 2020 edition of Fast Forward, and my guest today is Dilip Bhatia, the Vice President of Global Marketing and User Customer Experience at Lenovo. Lenovo makes laptops. Lenovo makes a whole range of personal computing devices, which you read about on PC Mag all the time. Dilip, thanks so much for talking to me today.
My pleasure.
So this is a CES. CES is known for being a big TV show, but there are actually a lot of PC announcements, and not just PCs, but sort of PC-related devices that Lenovo's brought to the show. Can you talk a little bit about the diversity of devices?
Absolutely. And increasingly at Lenovo, we don't look at computing as just PCs. We look at computing as truly around us. And so my teams typically, from a user experience standpoint, they look at clearly innovating not only in the PC space, but really a lot of adjacencies. So virtual reality, or think reality, augmented reality type of devices, or virtual reality type of devices. We've announced devices like the Smart Frame. We've announced devices that are Alexa ready, Google Assistant ready with our smart tabs and so on. So increasingly computing is all around us, and that's why you're seeing a number of devices and we're basically giving a choice to customers.
Yeah, I know you've used the line, it's not about PCs, it's about personal computing.
Absolutely.
It's a line I use all the time at PC Mag to sort of represent what we cover. But Lenovo's, I remember at CES, is one of the first companies that really brought smart assistants into the home, and you're supporting multiple platforms. Can you talk a little bit about how you've been doing it for a couple of years now? Are there any learnings for how users are using these connected devices in the home?
Yeah, we're big on voice. And if you think about it, right, a typical human, they type 40 words per minute. But you and I, it's 140 words per minute. So voice is just so natural. It just makes so much sense. And increasingly, customers are influenced by their smartphone. I mean, today, I don't type text messages. I talk to my text messages, right? So our customers are that way too. They want to be able to use voice. So how do we make computing increasingly, it's ambient, it's around us. So a good example is smart speakers, right? So people are so used to the smart speakers. Alexa, what's the weather today? Or hey Google, tell me the score of XYZ game. So why not bring that into the PCs? Itself. So we've partnered with Alexa, with Amazon, with including Alexa in a number of devices, but also with Google and Smart Assistant. And really, it's providing a choice to customers. There are obviously multiple ecosystems, whether it's the Amazon or Google, and Lenovo truly believes in providing that choice.
So you've done a lot of your business is looking at consumer experience and using those learnings to change the products that you have. Have you learned anything about, or has anything surprised you about how people are using voice assistants in the home?
I wouldn't say what we've typically, when we listen to customers, there's a number of ways we listen to customers, and we're using a lot of big data analytics. For example, today my team is analyzing 20 million comments, scraping the data, and truly assigning a sentiment index in terms of, do people like this feature or they don't like this feature? So every product at Lenovo has what are the top 5 things that people like or dislike. And based on that, we're constantly innovating on the products. Guess what's the number one issue? You'd be surprised, right? That people talk about is really displays. Display is the number one. Number 2 is audio. Battery is really the fundamentals, that basics that people are looking for. Voice honestly doesn't show up in the top 10 list. So it's so early again with voice, and you see that in the premium PCs, but over time I see voice coming much more in a lot more products. But right now, from a customer standpoint, the focus is fundamentals. How do we provide a better display, better audio, better driver support, just reducing the number of blue screens? That's what people really care about.
When people complain about display, or they say display is the most important thing, what are they looking for? Are they looking for resolution? Are they looking for touch features?
Believe it or not, it's not resolution, and we've done a lot of research in this space. It boils down to brightness. The color gamut, right? The blackness, right? So that's what people, resolution. Interestingly, a lot of the retailers want to sell 4K, and 4K is great if you're watching video or doing a lot of photography. But for most people, they just want to be able to do productivity, be able to do their Word document or Excel spreadsheets. And honestly, a full HD or WKHD is more than good enough. So brightness matters, right? The color gamut matters. The resolution is probably number 3 or number 4 on the list.
Interesting. Yeah, and also the size of the screen matters.
Yes.
To try and squeeze a 4K screen on a phone-sized display, there's just no use.
It doesn't make sense.
Your eyes are not going to be able to tell the difference.
Exactly.
One of the products you announced at the show is the Lenovo Yoga 5G laptop. So there's a couple of ways to look at that. Do you think that, is this just a laptop with 5G built in, or is this a genuinely new type of product that's going to enable new use cases?
I honestly believe it'll generate a lot of new use cases. What people aren't looking for 5G. What people care about is download times, low latency. That's what they care about, right? And 5G just enables that. I still think we have a long ways to go, but this is the start. I think it'll generate, so PC is just one space, but I think 5G, honestly, the biggest benefit I see is really in the commercial space, right? So imagine every commercial environment where there's low latency, you can basically download stuff, have video collaboration. Imagine having 5G in hospitals and doing remote surgeries and so on, right? So to me, 5G is a game changer, and we're really bullish on it. And the Yoga 5G is just our first attempt. Lenovo was the first one to launch the Yoga 5G PC, but it's just the start of that innovation.
I want to go back to, you talked about the business applications. One of the things I keep waiting to happen is for voice assistants and smart devices to come into the boardrooms and come into the meeting rooms and be used in the office. We're very comfortable with these devices in our homes, and yet it seems like the workplace environment is lagging behind a little bit. Do you have any idea why?
It is, and I think a lot of enterprise customers that I talk to, we do a number of customer advisory councils throughout the world where we're talking to a lot of the IT managers to understand some of the pain points. And honestly, they do want to. They realize it's a challenge. And honestly, the biggest thing that's driving is the war for talent. They want some of the best talent. So they want to be able to enable their offices to be a lot more collaborative type of environment, which is why one of the devices that we've recently launched is this Think Smart View, where it's your personal device for video conferencing. So today what happens is when I get on a video conference call, it basically takes up my entire screen. Well, what if I could offload that to a small personal device, right, that sits right next to me, and I still have my PC available? So that's one of the simple innovations that we've done. But when we've talked to a lot of the IT managers, they want the conference room solution to be instant on, meetings to start on time, video collaboration. We know improves productivity, drives better outcomes. So we're certainly getting there, but we still have ways to go.
There's also, I think, a big opportunity in the workplace for IT to work with employees. I mean, I know when we survey our employees, the tools they use to do their job are hugely important to them.
Absolutely.
It's part of why they work there is because they've got great tools.
Yeah.
And yet, in a lot of companies, IT on your first day of work comes, sets up your PC, and then walks away until something breaks, and then they come back. Yeah. It seems to me there should be a little bit more cooperation training and working with the employee to really help them get the most out of their tools. Yeah. Have you done any research in that area?
So, as you know, one of my fancy titles that I have is the Chief Customer Experience Officer at Lenovo. And I truly believe that for a company to be truly customer-centric, you have to be employee-centric first, right? So in order for us to be employee-centric, traditionally, you're right, it used to be IT. But today, it's not just IT that you're dealing with. You're dealing with real estate. You're dealing with facilities. You're dealing with HR. All these teams have to come together to be able to provide that employee experience, right? So it's that fuzzy area today, right? Who really owns that employee experience? And some of the companies are really starting to put a lot of focus on that. And I honestly feel this is a great opportunity where companies will start to put chief employee experience officers, not just customer experience officers, to look at really from an end-to-end perspective. Are we addressing some of the core needs for employees, right? Whether it's the software, the tools. Most employees that I talk to, honestly, the number one thing they do talk about is make it easy for me to do my work. They're not looking for fancy coffee bars or climbing walls, right? Most employees care about is just give me the tools to get my work done.
Yep. Yeah, in our office, avocado toast is also on the list of things that employees really want. But again, it's the same thing. The tools to get your job done seems like a pretty fundamental thing. It's also in the business's own interest to help win the war for talent and also help your employees be more productive. But it's very rare that experience gets migrated all the way down to the employee user base. I want to ask you some of the questions I ask everybody that comes on the show. Is there a technology trend that keeps you up at night?
I get excited about what technology can go do for individuals and businesses. It's not what keeps me up, it's really what gets me excited. I'll give you a simple example. Recently, we partnered with the Starlight Children's Foundation, where the Starlight Children's Foundation actually works in a number of hospitals around the US, and they provide augmented reality headsets. And what we recently found was using virtual reality with our Lenovo Mirage solutions, the doctors have been able to significantly reduce the amount of pain medication that the children actually need. That's
because it distracts them from their pain and puts them in a different state.
It puts them in a different state, and they don't need as much pain medication, right? They don't even have to have anesthesia done if they are in a virtual reality environment. Now, obviously, this is very early, it's very new, but the promise of that technology is what gets me excited. So think about patient outcomes. We're working with a nonprofit, Feels Good, in Peru, where they basically use, again, VR to help the patient go through their oncological procedures that they're going through. It really improves the patient experience. So to me, it's not what keeps me up, it's really what gets me excited about the promise of technology that's to come.
So there's nothing that concerns you, there's nothing that worries you, privacy, data,
no, absolutely.
Security.
Absolutely. Privacy, data are huge. And in fact, we recently announced a software set of tools through our Lenovo Vantage, where it basically helps users identify who's phishing them, what are some of the attacks that are available, right? So customers, or customers do really care about. There was a 2019 World survey that a lot of consumers feel like we don't know what companies are doing with our data, right? So how do I know what's my, how do I know what companies are doing with it, right? So there's a tremendous amount of focus on privacy, artificial intelligence. It's so early on again, but we're taking at Lenovo, obviously we don't store any data. We're very much committed to privacy, and we're providing tools to consumers so that they have better control of their smart home environment, or in a business using technologies like ThinkShield, right, to basically protect the business environment.
Do you have any advice for people that are concerned about this new world of AI and automation? Any advice for them about how to navigate this new world?
Yeah, I think for a lot of companies, I think you have to really put the customer at the focus and center in everything that we do, right? And as long as you do that, right, understand what are their privacy challenges, what are their concerns. There's obviously data, identity, a number of areas, right, where as long as companies are focusing on the business challenges and respecting individuals' privacy, they'll do the right thing. So we truly need to stay very close to the customer, and as long as we do that, that'll drive a lot of innovation and that'll drive trust, which is what customers, both businesses and individuals, are looking for.
Is there a product or service or gadget that you use every day that still inspires wonder?
It's something I was just telling earlier this morning. We have a Lenovo Smart Display, and I kid you not, my kids, and I've got an 11-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 17-year-old, especially the 11 and 13-year-old, honestly, they'll just sit back and look at their old pictures, their vacation pictures, their family pictures from 5 years ago or 10 years ago when they were little babies, and they do it every day. I didn't expect that, but it drives a lot of conversation. What were we doing at that time? And it's a great tool to bring family together. Obviously, it's got the Google Assistant or the Alexa type of voice recognition capability, but I love that my kids use it every day, and it's a very simple Lenovo Smart Display, the 8-inch and the 10-inch version that we sell. So to me, something as simple as that I really like, that it brings the families together.
Yeah, it's really amazing that the generations now will have a visual history of their entire life.
Yes.
Documented and digital and always available, so that it's literally on the kitchen counter whenever they want to look for it.
Yeah, and that's what really drove the smart frame, right? Yeah. If you think about it, that we just announced the 21.5 inch, you've got thousands and thousands, billions of photographs. I mean, I was reading a stat, there are 1 billion pictures taken every day. What do you do with that, right? How do you bring that alive? And really the smart frame is really that whole, how do you make those memories come alive for families?
Yeah, and the extraordinary thing is the facial ID. You really can just find all the pictures of any individual person in the family and then go back through time and see the evolution of their life. It's pretty exciting.
It is. And that's what honestly, I feel that's what gets me excited to come to work, is really the promise of technology. Yes, there are certain concerns that all companies need to take about, but there's a tremendous amount of benefit that technology has provided, and we want to continue to innovate in this space.
So how can users follow what Lenovo's doing, follow what you're doing, and all of your great customer experience design research?
What do you mean? I'm sorry?
How can people follow you online?
Oh, through my LinkedIn, on Twitter, Twitter @Dilip Bhatia. So follow me on that. So I'm very, very active on Twitter and on my LinkedIn.
Great. Dilip, thanks so much for talking to me today.
My pleasure. Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. Yeah.
That's Fast Forward for today. I'm Dan Costa with PC Magazine. You can find past episodes of Fast Forward on PCMag.com, on YouTube, or anywhere fine podcasts are given away for free. Thanks so much for joining us. I'll see you in the future.